Hey, and welcome to Making Tea and talking about marriage and marathons. It's been a hot minute since we've done this, and there's a few reasons for that. But basically, I haven't been like on social media as a social media sort of presence, other than just like your regular person who uses social media for like family and friends. In probably about 5 years, I dipped my toe back into the world with some running content because I'm a runner now. That happened about 6 years ago, and I've never been very consistent with it. If you're clicking onto this because you watched my videos 10 years ago, then hi, it's so lovely that you've decided to come and click on this. You have absolutely no reason to, because like I say, it's probably been about 5 to 10 years since I've done any of this consistently. And if you've never seen me before, then I used to do some videos that were of this format where I would make tea and talk about a topic. I really miss it. I didn't think I would. I stepped away from doing any sort of like YouTube or like public social media stuff for quite a while, pretty much after I left uni and like entered the adult world. I was like, do you know what? I don't think it's for me anymore. I've been dipping my toe little by little back into the world, and I've been using my Instagram a lot more, like the one that used to be Books for Laura back in the day, and it's now Mug on the Move, and I've been using that sporadically over the last sort of like year or two, but over the last few months I've really been back on there and I've been really enjoying it. And my content's quite niche now, it's mostly running, but I just wanted to catch up with everything. As I've been making more short form content, I've realized that short form is not my natural area. If you've watched any of my videos before, you know I just like to chat, I like to talk. I literally like came out of the womb talking. Trying to fit my sort of like thoughts and feelings and whatever random shit that's come into my head into 3 minutes is really hard. And so I've been resisting coming back onto long form because quite frankly the idea of it really frightens me, if I'm going to be totally candid. I've realized like over the years I have resilience in some ways, which we're going to talk about as we get onto the actual topics of this video, but I also am naturally, I think, thin-skinned, I want to say. And I don't mean that to be like a negative or to be like, oh, I'm really weak, because I don't feel that way, but I am not good with people being mean to me. I'm just not. And when you post yourself online, you open yourself up obviously to people being mean, and that's their prerogative if they want to spend their days doing that. I never had, like, let's just be real, I never had like hate trains following me or anything, but I just knew that if I let what we were doing here get any bigger, there was potential. And honestly, I just got too scared. And I've decided now, I started making videos when I was like, probably when I was 14 or 15. I'm 28 years old now. I'm married now. I'm an adult, and I really miss having a corner of the internet that was all about the energy that I wanted to see in the world. And I felt like I could see that in the world by putting it out into the world, if that makes any sort of sense. I've realised that the more I exude positivity or just a positive mental attitude, I guess, the more it finds me. And so by having my little corner of Instagram, which I've been sort of like cultivating over the last sort of few months, I've actually found it to be such a positive space, and it is like positively enhanced my social media use and how I engage with my phone. And so I figured that by coming back onto YouTube, I could do that in a more sort of long form space. That's the long and short of it. What the hell have I been doing? Where have I been? I, like I say, got married and I'm a runner, hence the marriage and marathons. I actually just ran the London Marathon for the second time last weekend. If you follow Mug on the Move, my Instagram, then you'll see that it's running content. Also on tour in a show at the moment. Children's show, I've been working on it since last summer, where I made my West End debut, which is something I never thought really would happen. Guys, my career trajectory has been like, it's not even been a trajectory, it's been like a cat that's been let loose on like a field and they just kind of wander around aimlessly. That's what my career sort of path has been over the last few years since leaving uni. I obviously graduated and then COVID happened pretty soon after that. So I was a live captioner from home. I worked front of house at a theatre before that. I started an Etsy business. I closed an Etsy business. I became a wardrobe professional and worked on wardrobe on shows across the West End for the last 5 years of my life, working from being a dresser to being an assistant and everything in between, laundry assistant, maintenance assistant. I then carried on acting, and my husband set up a small production company. We do fringe theatre shows. We lose so much money doing them, but they're really fun. They're a creative outlet. Actually doing a show next week in Battersea. So if anyone's around and wants to watch me run on a treadmill as part of a play, the best part of an hour, then grab a ticket. There'll be a link in my description. And then I got very lucky. I managed to get an agent from one of our shows that we'd put on, and I then got my job that I'm on now, which is a hybrid job in that I cover 2 female parts in the show. So I go on for either role once a week. When I'm not on stage, I also am in charge of the wardrobe. So it's kind of like a marrying of all of my sort of like skill sets, I guess. And yeah, made my West End debut at the Haymarket Theatre last summer, which was like unbelievable. And I went to China on tour right after getting married. I got married in September. West End run finished a week before my wedding. Got married, had like 2 weeks at home, and then went off to China. Five weeks to tour the show, and then was in the Midlands for the winter with the show. And now I'm on a UK tour. Although I am back at home right now, I'm on a mini break at the moment. That's been the potted history of Laura's career trajectory. As we say, it's been here, there, and everywhere. And now I'm actually getting my running coach qualifications as well alongside it, because I realized that what I like to do, I always thought like I would never want to be a teacher, okay? I had bad experiences with teachers growing up. It's not for me. But actually, I get so much enjoyment out of chatting to people and kind of like bringing a bit of positivity to things, and I guess kind of helping people achieve their goals. And I realized that sort of run coaching was something that I really wanted to do to facilitate that. Like, I'm not an elite athlete. I am a very run-of-the-mill runner. I've run 5 marathons, which is great. I've run some ultras. I'm actually training for a 100-kilometer race in July. I think what we can assess is that nothing's changed in that I don't like to be bored and I really like to be busy. So that's kind of where we're at. What I found is that pre-getting back onto social media, sort of as someone creating content, I was consuming a lot of content. When I used to make YouTube videos back in the day, I wasn't really a YouTube watcher. There were a handful of people that I followed and watched sort of regularly, but generally speaking, I didn't always watch YouTube videos. I was creating them, but not necessarily spending that much time on the platform as a viewer. But that massively changed. As soon as I stopped making content, I became YouTube's #1 fan, in that anytime I'm in the house, and I've realized this has been the case for the last, maybe 6 or 7 years. Anytime I'm alone, I'm watching a YouTube video. When I'm in the shower, I'm watching a YouTube video. When I'm walking, I've got one playing in my pocket that I'm listening to as if it were a podcast. And it's the same for Instagram. And I deleted TikTok last year, and I only re-downloaded it this year to start uploading some of the reels I was doing on Instagram. And I have a rule where I don't scroll on TikTok. But I realized that my sort of screen time every day for someone who wasn't working on my phone was absolutely atrocious. And I realized that by not creating anything, all I was doing was consuming stuff and falling down rabbit holes that weren't necessarily the most positive. I was also seeing a lot of stuff that was inspiring me with ideas of what I could create myself, but I wasn't doing any of the creating, and ultimately it left me feeling quite dissatisfied with my sort of phone use and media usage. So that's why I think at the start of this year I was like, do you know what, I think I could get back into creating stuff. Obviously it feels like it is now. I mean, if it felt oversaturated back in the olden days of YouTube, God, it is oversaturated now. But then I kept realizing that actually all of the things I want to achieve, all of my like ambitions and my goals, could all be facilitated if I just stuck at something, if I just got back into putting myself out there and trying to seize opportunities and trying to be creative and express myself. That all might help me achieve the things I want to achieve and give me that sense of creative fulfillment. Even if only 5 people watch what I've made, I've still made something, and someone else has watched it, and if they've liked it, then they've enjoyed it. If they've left a comment, then it's something that they wanted to, express an opinion on. And there are so many negative spaces of the internet now which promote discourse that is so unhelpful, and just, people arguing inside an echo chamber, and it's all incredibly negative, can be places of mass misinformation. And I thought, you know what, I could just shut all of that off, and I could just never go on social media again and just completely disengage from that side of the world. Or I could create a space for the antithesis of that, and then I can just engage in my own space. I don't have to go anywhere else, or I can use my space to find other like-minded people. So that's the goal, that's the ambition. I don't know in what capacity I'm coming back to YouTube yet, in that I don't entirely know what my content's going to look like, just because I never really know what my life is going to look like. Being on tour is really sort of testing my limits as a person who really loves control and knowing my next move and having a plan, because I just don't I don't know a lot of the time. I find myself in brand new places that I've never ever been before, up and down the country or internationally. I spent my birthday in Thailand this year with the show. Never would have thought that was happening. So I never really know what my weeks are going to look like. But I do think it would be interesting to kind of take everyone along for the journey, maybe do some tour vlogs, maybe do some sort of like running content as well, because running really has become, I guess let's just talk about it. Like, let's talk about the marathons part of the marathons and marriage. And we'll get to the marriage because I want to talk about my wedding as well. Marathons, we're in spring marathon season, and even if you're not a runner, even if you are not someone who engages in sort of like the running world or fitness spheres online at all, if you live in London or you're kind of like London adjacent, you'll have seen on the news and sort of, I guess, been fed some stuff on your algorithm from the London Marathon. The marathon is a day that captures the human spirit. And I talk about this from a perspective that's not as someone who is like a super amazing athlete that's going for time. Like, yes, I train and yes, I have time goals and stuff. But actually, the London Marathon specifically, and the marathon distance specifically, is this magical place where it tests the limits of human endurance, but it's still accessible for the average person. I do believe almost anyone can run a marathon if they, do the training and put the time into it. It is an achievable thing to do that is also incredibly difficult. And that brings out the best in human nature, because people need a reason to commit to doing such a big task like running 26.2 miles, and often those reasons are for charitable causes, for loved ones, to raise awareness for something important. And what you see on London Marathon Day, from the spectators, from the people running, from the charities, is everyone coming together to support people in whatever reason, whatever why they've brought to the table that day. Strangers helping strangers. I can't describe it without getting really emotional, but when I ran my first marathon back in 2022, I was not one of those people that ran it and was like, cool, one and done. I was like, this is a high I'm going to be chasing for the rest of my life, because I ran for Crohn's and colitis. Many of you will remember, if you were around at that time, when I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease 10 years ago. And I've had a really roller coaster sort of up and down journey with my health ever since then. And it's not something I ever take for granted, but it was amazing to have come out of the other end of some of the really difficult health struggles I had while I was at university and find myself on the start line of the London Marathon, running 26 miles for that charity, for running for Crohn's and colitis. And the amount of support I felt in that time, and the amount of things I was able to sort of, I guess, achieve, and sort of the places I was able to spread awareness for bowel disease, was like so fulfilling to me that I just felt like, my God, like this is unlike anything I've ever experienced. And also then that personal achievement of having ran and done this distance, done this really hard endurance test in a body that I thought at one point was, barely able to walk. I was bedbound. I couldn't dance anymore. I thought I was gonna have to give up my career. Like, there were so many things that told me that I would never be able to achieve anything close to running a marathon. And so the fact that I was able to really made me want to just do it again and again and again. Like I say, I've done 5 now, and I just ran the London Marathon on the weekend just gone for Crohn's and colitis again, which was a real honour, a real joy. And the play that I'm performing next week, on a treadmill, all about running the London Marathon in 2022, is also about how, running with an autoimmune disease can feel so sort of like, it's a juxtaposition between knowing that your body is totally fallible and you actually can't trust it some of the time because you're not on the same team, it feels like some of the time, but also that your body is capable of so much. And if you treat it with respect and you honor your body and like really do your best by it, you can achieve things that felt unreachable. Aside from all of that, while being on tour, running has been just the most incredible way to see the country, to see the world in many ways. When I was in China, I was lucky. I was on tour with my friend Katie, who is also a fantastic runner, and we did so much running. We ran a half marathon every week that we were in China, so in 5 different cities. We traveled to 15 different cities all across China, and we ran in every single one of them. And to be able to see a country in that way was just unbelievable. I feel like before I went to China, I had this like image, I guess what we pictured like Shanghai to be, which is, in my experience, it's just London, but in like 50 years time. It's like a futuristic London. But actually China had some of the most beautiful outdoor natural spaces that I've ever like had the privilege to run in. Their parks are set up for activity. Everyone is so active there. You know, there are dance groups, there are people doing Tai Chi, there's so much activity happening in this park. Like, this is where life happens. And it was so like affirming and wonderful to see. And I would never have experienced that if I wasn't a runner. You can just cover so much more ground when you're running versus when you walk. Now, even on this sort of UK stretch of the tour, I've ran all over the place. I've run in 4 different countries this side of the year, and I think it's something like 17 different cities, which has been like amazing. And it gives me that headspace, it gives me time to myself, and I would not be sort of the person that I am today if I hadn't found running 6 years ago. I feel so lucky that my body allows me to do it. I feel so lucky that I decided to go out one day for a 5k and just see what happened. And as I say, I'm training for a 100-kilometer race at the moment, which does feel a bit insane, but there is just something that is so captivating and addictive about the practice. It's almost meditative. So that's my rant on running. If you're not a runner, give it a go. But really, it can be any exercise. It doesn't sort of have to be running. It can be anything that makes you feel inspired. Running just happens to be that thing for me. Now on to marriage. I have obviously been with my husband, Joe. I think I've mentioned him on this channel before. I must have done. We've been together for nearly 7 years. And yeah, we got married last September. It was absolutely beautiful. Best day of my life. And I know people always say, oh yeah, your wedding day's the best day of your life. And it's like, yeah, okay, fine. But like, it actually was the best day of my life, guys. It was so good. It was so good. I'll include some pictures if you'd like to see. Oh, I just get emotional thinking about it. It was literally just a perfect day. I mean, I'm very, very lucky. Joe met working front of house at theatre right before COVID, and we've just been inseparable ever since. He is my best friend. He is like sensational, just in every sense of the word. He's a proper creative, and he pushes me to like be the best version of myself, which is amazing. And he also really commits. He's at all my races. He's sat in fields waiting to see me for like 4 seconds for like hours on end. You know, he's just like, he's the ultimate cheerleader. So I'm very, very lucky to have him. So interesting, I think, in this like kind of age we're in when it comes to marriage, because I live in central London, basically, and a lot of my friends were all at completely different sort of like junctures in our lives. And I have a twin brother. Oops, sorry, hitting the mic. I have a twin brother who lives not in London and is very much living a sort of like more suburban life. My twin brother has a baby and another one on the way now and is engaged, which is crazy. I'm an aunt, bonkers. But like back home, it's very normal for people to be married at 28. Very normal for people to own a house at 28. Normal for people to be having babies. Yet in London, me and Joe are our only, out of all of our friends, we're the only married couple, and we're the only people like even close to being married. Like completely different timeline wise here. So here I feel like a child bride. Amongst sort of city culture, I feel like 28 is a child bride. I mean, we chose to get married, I guess, because, well, we were already living like a married couple, it felt like. We've lived together for, I don't know, 5 years, and we have a cat together, and we were basically already doing all the things that a married couple would do. So we were just like, while we're in the position to do it, like, let's do it. And Joe proposed a year before in Italy, where my family are from. Like, me and Joe went on this lovely holiday, and we went up to the Duomo next to like my great grandparents' house, and I'd lit a candle for my relatives who are no longer with us, who are from that town. And I literally came out the Duomo and there was Joe proposing. Amazing. It was fantastic. But it's so funny because even though like I feel like nothing has changed since we got married. Like, our wedding day was perfect. It was amazing. And now that I get to call him my husband, obviously. But like fundamentally in our lives, nothing has changed. I was working like a pretty good job before the wedding, so we were able to save money and like have a wedding and everything. Since then, because I've taken a career change to being more of an actor now, the money is significantly worse, so we're nowhere near being able to buy a house. Definitely can't start thinking about children for another, you know, several years. So it kind of feels like nothing's changed, even though we're legally married. So is this weird sort of dichotomy of being like, we've made this huge step into adulthood in that we are like legally bound to each other now. We've got the paperwork to prove it. I've got the dress in storage. Like, we've done it. My bouquet is on the side. Like, we've done that, but like, we're kind of still exactly where we were before. We've been in the same flat for coming up to 4 years, I want to say now. So like, our actual lives haven't changed that much, even though on paper we are married. But I think that's just because like, our relationship's always been, not to brag, sensational, and so we've always kind of treated each other like husband and wife before we were husband and wife. I don't know where I sit on here, whether I'm like trying to promote marriage or not. I don't think I'm doing either. I think I'm just like factually stating my situation. But I mean, from my perspective, 10 out of 10 would recommend. I love being Joe's wife. It's fantastic. But like I say, not much difference. I would just really love to be back here able to talk about things that pop into my brain as and when they do. I guess podcast style, like, you don't have to watch this video, you could just pop it on in the background and listen to my dulcet tones if you would like. I have so many YouTubers like that who I just love to listen to, and so if I can be that for someone else, then that would absolutely make my life. All in all, I just really want to be putting out into the world the kind of things that I want to receive from the world, which is level-headedness, nuance, gentle positivity, and a lightness, like finding humor. Like, the world is in an absolute well, it's a shit show at the moment, let's be real, and it can feel really, really overwhelming. Every day I wake up and I read the news and I go, okay, this is what we're working with, and it can feel like you don't have any power to do literally anything to help a single person in the world, given everything that's going on right now. But I also don't think that's true. I think that we can, and I guess on fundamental levels, I'm not going to be the one that's stopping war. I'm not going to be the one that is causing big systemic changes in sort of in the government, in the way things are happening across the country, across other countries. But what I can do is try to positively impact the people who I interact with every single day, because we're not here on this planet for very long. We're really not. Life is incredibly short. I mean, it's a quote that's been around for forever, which is, how you spend your days is how you spend your life. And I want to make sure that I'm spending my days properly. And by properly, I don't mean being maximum productive. I don't mean like grinding yourself into the ground to get things done and to hustle and all of that. I don't believe that at all. Like, rest is important, looking after yourself is important. But what I mean by using your days is making sure that you are spending your energy properly and wisely, I guess, and on people who matter to you, and on people who might need your support or your friendship or your kindness. I just think, and it's very simplistic, but like, that's really what is in our control at the moment. And if that's in our control, then we should try our best to do it. So I'm going to leave it here for today, but if there's anything that you would particularly like me to discuss, or you've got any ideas for things you'd like to see based on what I've told you about what my life currently looks like, then I'm all ears. This is more kind of like, back in the day, these videos used to act as a sort of therapy for me, and running has kind of become my therapy. But I also realized that talking through how I think and how I feel really does help me massively. So this is very self-serving for me to be making these videos. But if by me serving myself can also serve any of you, then that's fantastic. That's the best of both worlds, in the wise words of Hannah Montana. So if you want to see more of what I've been up to more recently, then check out my Instagram, Mug on the Move, that's with 2 E's. And if any of you are around London from May 4th to the 9th, so that's this coming Monday, at 7 p.m, and you want to head over to Battersea and watch my show, there'll be a ticket link in the description, and we've also got a discount code for tickets as well. So check that out, because it would be lovely to have some friendly faces there. We'll see you all in the next video, and I hope that will be very, very soon. Bye!